Hello everyone. Now this video is a bit hard to make out because of a low quality drone feed, but in this clip we can see Smart 155 rounds in action being used to hit Russian BMD-4s in Krynky. We've seen quite a few videos from Krynky lately, and it seems that Russia has stepped up their operations here. This was identified as being Smart 155 rounds being used because if you look close you can see the parachutes. There are 4 parachutes seen, and each Smart 155 round deploys 2 parachute-carried submunitions, so 2 smart shells were launched at this location. From what I can make out, this has 3 hits and 1 which looks to be a miss. 2 of them hit the same vehicle. Let's do a screenshot. So here highlighted is the miss and the 3 hits. 1 vehicle was hit twice. So it's a good strike by the smart rounds and also a rare miss. These are very accurate and don't miss the targets very often. These vehicles were in the region of the red marker here. Now, this area may look familiar. This is the spot where in the video I looked at a couple of days ago, we saw 2 Russian tanks dropping off troops and retreating, whilst coming under fire. So Russia's carrying out some sort of operations and dropping troops off in these woods. I'm going to replay that video towards the end just as a recap because it ties in with this one. But first, let's go through this and another video I have for you. Now, I'm a little surprised that Russia has taken a risk like this, dropping troops off and using vehicles so close to Dnipro, where they're vulnerable, when there's a perfectly good trail further back that they could use, coming from a major east to west road. Granted, we've seen vehicles on that getting destroyed too, but it's bound to be less risky than using this road close to the Dnipro. I do think one possibility may be is that the trail isn't a paved road, so it might now be unusable for vehicles because of the mud. So Russia needs to take the risk of sending armour along the road near the Dnipro. We've covered this before, but this is how a Smart 155 round works. So first of all, a Smart 155 round is fired from a standard 155mm artillery, so such as a Panzerhaubitze or a Caesar, something like that. The round fires on a ballistic arc with a max range of 27.5 kilometers. Mid-flight, a timer fuse ignites a small ejector rocket in the nose, which drags the 2 submunitions out of the shell. Once clear, the submunitions fall towards the target, and the shell and nose fall away. The submunitions deploy parachutes and corkscrew over the target area, scanning for targets. This is different from the bonus round, which uses little winglets rather than parachutes. That's how you can tell them apart. Once the submunition detects a target beneath it, it detonates its explosive payload, which creates a high-velocity explosively formed projectile which strikes the target from above where the armour is weaker, as seen in this little diagram here. Now this isn't the only video I have for you from around Krynky. This clip here shows a BMD hitting a mine in the forest. This BMD you can spot goes past the previously destroyed T-72 as well, so a bit of a bonus for you there. I think this is the first evidence we have of Ukraine using mines around Krynky. Now I can't tell whether these are hand-placed mines or Rams mines deployed by 155mm artillery. This took place here. The BMD was advancing along this very same road we looked at, only a little bit further east. So with these recent videos, it seems Russia has changed tactics. Typically, in the past, Russian advances came from Korsunka, but now we're seeing multiple from Kozachi Lahiri as well, as seen here. So it seems Russia has strengthened Kozachi Lahiri somewhat, and is now using it as a position to try and advance to Krynky and clear the Ukrainian troops from the town. Here's an example image of a BMD. These are lightweight armoured fighting vehicles which are in service with Russia's airborne troops. It's unknown how many are actually in service, but what we do know is the amount destroyed, 9 on Oryx, not including the ones starring in this video. So BMD-4 losses have now joined the 100 club. Likely it's actually higher, as not every loss is documented and we only see the recorded ones of ones videoed up on Oryx. Now, as it ties in with this video, I'm going to replay yesterday's video clip about the tanks for you, as it offers some additional insight into Russia's tactics and movements here. Hello everyone, this video here is from Krynky and shows a failed Russian assault in the town, or so it's reported as, but we'll come to that later. In the video, we can see a near miss with an RPG early on, So Ukrainian troops are near this area. We also see some artillery strikes landing close. The infantry then dismount into the trees. Then the Russian tanks are seen engaging Ukrainian positions and then pull back. Now it's important to note that none of the two tanks are destroyed, though they do pull back. Now this has been shared as being a failed assault. However, I wonder if these tanks actually served their purpose and were just pulling back because that was their orders. I think this may have happened, the tanks come in here, purely to carry the infantry near Krynky and dismount them to carry out some operation of their own and then the tanks leave, rather than this being an armoured assault on the town that halted. Two tanks and a handful of troops aren't going to be enough to push Ukraine out of Krynky. So, is Russia now using these tanks as a sort of improvised APC to get troops around Krynky rather than BTRs and BMDs? The BTRs and BMDs, you may remember, have been absolutely decimated by Ukrainian drones in the region. So it's very possible that tanks are going to be used now to drop troops off as they can take more of a pounding. If so, it's a notable change in Russia's tactics. When we check the geolocation, we can also see a change in Russian tactics here, mainly with the location that this attack came from. So this occurred here, the tanks heading northeast along the road as shown, the troops dismounted into the woods near the side of the road. Zoomed out, you can see that these came from Kozachi Lahiri rather than Korsunka as usual. So this marks a bit of a change in Russian tactics in the area, with tanks advancing from the west rather than just from Korsunka now. The woods where the troops dismounted to, as far as I can tell, are or were full of Russians, at least judging by the videos we've seen of BTRs and trucks destroyed in there. The Ukrainian positions did seem to be a little further east of the town and the woods to the north of the road. However, we did see the RPG fire, so it seems Ukrainian troops, at least some, have pushed up along this road towards Kozachi Lahiri. So, quite interesting to see, I thought. Three videos which we've seen here, all of them showing Russian actions around the same road and advancing from Kozachi Lahiri north towards Krynky. Now, I completely missed this when it happened, but a few days ago, I think around the 8th or 9th, Russia did attempt a heavy armoured assault towards the town, which failed, leading to heavy losses of the armoured vehicles. I completely missed that. So quite interesting that Russia is reinforcing the area and trying to push Ukraine out. Now as for Ukraine's crossing here, can Ukraine strengthen it? I certainly hope they can. As you can see with the deep states map on screen now, Russia's defensive fortifications are much less around Kherson than they are in Zaporizhia. So if Ukraine can get this river crossing strengthened and can get vehicles over, then it's potentially a weakness they can exploit. After the initial fortifications, once they bypass those, it's pretty much an open route down to the edge of Crimea, with very few defensive fortifications, trenches, that sort of thing shown. But it is a huge ask. At the moment, we have just Ukrainian troops there confirmed. I'm not sure how many. And also, rumours of a few light armoured vehicles, but nothing in bulk. To be able to secure a crossing, Ukraine will need to either deplete or push back out of range Russia's artillery and rocket systems to make the crossing safe to use. A big ask, but not impossible. Mostly in this region, we've seen D-20s and D-30s used by Russia, which do have a shorter range, and also TOS-1 rocket launchers, which, while extremely powerful, only have a range of 10 kilometers. We have also seen Grads, however, which do have a longer range. So we are going to have to keep an eye on this area and see what happens. Hopefully, we get some news over the coming months about Ukrainian advances here. So that's it for this video. Some quite interesting action in and around Krynky. Russia has certainly stepped up their defensive actions in the region and do look to be enforcing that forest. Now, before we go, I'm going to play a video about the new fundraiser with the Ukraine Volunteer Centre. I'll play it now. Thanks so much for everybody who's watched, and thanks so much to everybody who donates. Many thanks, and take care, everyone.
Good afternoon, greetings from the Ukrainian Volunteer Center. Today we are announcing a new fundraising. Recently there was a vehicle during the last artillery attack. A car in a combat is very necessary for timely change of position or evacuation. 2 metal detectors and 1 generator for the guys from the 93 Brigade Холодный Яр. Generators are the main helpers of our fighters in the harsh conditions of war. We also need 1000 liters of GSL fuel for the 3rd separate battalion of the Ukrainian Volunteer Army Volyn. Fundraising goal is 50,650. For the highest donation, we will send a set of glasses with the logo of our fund, on the last logo of our fund. We will also draw a second set of glasses using a randomizer among people who donate at least $12. By the way, these are the last 2 sets with the previous symbols of our foundation. All reports will be posted as usual after the fundraising. Thank you for being with us and helping us. Thank you for your being with Ukraine. With love from Ukraine.